Hi, my name is Giroux. I live in Washington State. I'm a single mom. I'm fighting corruption for advocating for my medically fragile son. In 2012, my children were wrongfully taken from me by CPS after doctors made a medical error and blamed me. I'm about to read to you a script, which is from my national press release that I released yesterday on my own, and I got no response back, so I decided to do this. I've never created a YouTube before. The public needs the media to help fight corruption, but how can the public get the media to help the public? This is why I feel I have no other choice but to create this YouTube video as my version of a public press release of corruption within the state of Washington. Corruption? Yes, I believe so. There is little more I can do to fight this, or we. If you're in the media and you're wary of corruption as the public, then simply do the research versus just taking the word from one side. And please, for the sake of Washington, pull back the curtains and expose this. Pardon me for saying, however, honestly, exposure is the only remedy. Please tell me why I have not received any real response backs from any Western Washington news media, state governor, the senators, Washington State Commission on Judicial Conduct, grievance for lawyers, Department of Health, State Medical Commission, Office of the Insurance Commissioner, County Sheriff, County Court, and the Office of the Children and Family Ombudsman. Even though I had submitted certified letters multiple times and by email. My case can be proven beyond all shadow of a doubt, and maybe everyone can finally begin to understand just how arrogant and dishonest county city governments alongside major healthcare organizations really are. As of April 10, 2014, I have filed a civil rights complaint in the Tacoma, United States District Court for the Western District of Washington for the reason being of denied due process and, of course, harm, but and no means of relief or response from any of the named organizations. I've recently submitted a letter to the county court sheriff regarding a police brutality that I received in a secret and closed court by an officer in a court case incident on December 10, 2013 in the ex parte court of a Washington State. This was a family law case, modification of custody. Court ordered a parenting plan in 2008 that included a history of domestic violence and an order of supervised visitations only after the domestic violence recommendations. That never happened. The person never pursued that to happen. So when 2012 came, the CPS didn't follow that court order, and that family member with domestic violent history was contacted and was not forthcoming, and the children were forced into that person's care. In addition, the children did tell CPS about this domestic violent history, but they were told that it wasn't true. They were 16 and 13 at the time. My son is 17 now, and my daughter will turn 15 here in July. My children wrote their experiences on their own, and my son wrote his first legal defense in high school on for his first day of dependency court. He was able to identify the thesis of the false allegations as Munchausen by proxy syndrome. Stated only 4 of the 25 had anything to do with the thesis and punched holes in them all, in a manner of speaking. His attorney and judge were impressed and stated he was going to be a future attorney. It should also be known while in CPS, a social worker asked my son what did he want to see come out of all this. And he responded by saying, better law, so this doesn't happen again to other children. And if doctors don't want to be doctors, they don't want to take care of their patients, they shouldn't become doctors. I agree, don't you? think that's a good idea. However, there is such a level of corruption and conspiracy in my family law case that it's just appalling and unconscionable. I had to be rushed into the emergency room multiple times, as well as my son. I continue to protect my children, and my case just needs to be reported to a higher body of authority. So I contacted all of the organizations I thought had the authority to help. It just got worse. There were no protesters to protest for my case. One courageous court watcher did come out after a year and a half, but I think they were a little intimidated because the court demanded that court watcher provide their identity, and this shouldn't happen. There were 2 national press releases, one yesterday by me on my own, and I got no response back, so therefore this is my form of press release. The one a few months ago, it may have generated a local news station that did come out and interview my son and I in our home separately. And then also they filmed 2 days of the family law trial. And all of that data is being withheld from them. From the public. I'm not sure what they're doing with that data, but the local news station is also in the same city of the major healthcare organization that made these false accusations. I'm also trying to clear my name from being unjustly accused of Munchausen syndrome by proxy and retain custody of my minor children. I was entered into a database as a child abuser for neglect, for taking my child to the doctor. And later, after 1 year, the CPS redacted their findings on their own from founded to unfounded. However, I remain in a database, and my employer released me from my job 9 days after my son's open heart surgery. I haven't been able to get a job since 2012. I'm going to say I applied for about 500 jobs so far, because I applied for about 6 jobs a week since 2012 June. There needs to be a human rights 501c3 organization to legally enter my case via counsel and file a motion to intervene and a motion to stay my jail sentence. Right now, the courts are pondering the idea of putting me back to jail. I was ordered to jail on December 4th. I went to jail and I paid $500 bail, and they let me go. And the family member asked the courts if they could have that money to be given to their attorney, and the courts gave it. December 10th, I was ordered to jail and received police brutality, and I went to jail for advocating for my son. And there's no adequate cause, I should say. And I've been issued a moratorium by the family court judges as a result of the same. I cannot file any more pleadings or help myself legally speaking in my court case. And on December 20th, but they canceled it. And so they canceled it, and that's why they're doing the review right now. And why I want to get my story out. I am a pro se litigant, meaning I don't have an attorney. I have to represent myself. I don't know the law. I have to spend hours researching law on my own. It's very time consuming, it's complex, and it's difficult, when you've been traumatized. But I don't have any money to just simply move out of the state of Washington. And Washington's my home, and I'm proud to be from Washington. And I like to have the option, as well as my children, to stay and actually to contribute towards a better Washington. I can't imagine just leaving, knowing the way things are, and my family and friends are here. I don't want them to suffer. My son deserves a chance to heal, and I need your help because This truly can not possibly happen without a sense of working together. And that's what this is about. My son would benefit from an evaluation by an out-of-state cardiologist with the understanding of his heart condition. It's a rare congenital heart condition, so when my son was 15 and a half, he had a heart attack at school in PE, and that's usually around the age when this rare congenital heart condition is found, normally in postmortem teens. But he survived, and Washington State performed the first surgery. The surgery my son had was the first surgery ever performed by Washington. The first surgery ever performed on this type of rare congenital heart condition was about 8 years ago. Children are beginning to survive. Prognosis is unknown. And I do want to show you something before I forget. So, while CPS is making these accusations, May he had the heart attack. And in May, this is a Washington State handicap placard. State of Washington Department of Licensing Individuals with Disability Parking. Blue means permanent. That's issued to my son. His heart surgery was July. CPS told me he never had a heart attack, so why is he? Yeah, so just really, really despicable and disheartening, but it would be beneficial for him, for the state of Washington, if he could have this evaluation. I'm thankful that my son's, I mean, he had surgery and he's here, but he's having recurring complications, and so I think it could help, the doctors here and my son to get that evaluation, and he can bring back to Washington a treatment plan that it can apply here in Washington, and just allow my son and Washington, for the good of betterment, to have this opportunity. And so I'm speaking to the public and media for your help, because that's the only way possible is to understand that that's what needs to happen. This is not going to get better on its own. And so I'm willing to cooperate and provide any information upon request. We have honest intentions and we mean well. However, when explicit complaints are tended, there are typically no response or resolutions. Again, this is documented over and over for a year and a half. So it's clear to me that when a complaint is filed, there is an increased need there's an increased level of concern, and somewhat dangerous for seeking help. And this is serious for anyone. I have battled to keep custody of my children almost relentlessly for more than a decade. I am financially indigent and representing myself in court. I do want to mention, though, that for the decade, there's a lot more to that. There's several arrests, probations, violations. It was what I think any person would do. It's their duty to protect their children. But with that being said, I do have a part of me, well, I shouldn't say a part of me, but I am willing to cooperate and to get along, but I think that we have to work together. That's key. I think that right now, with my being indigent by the courts, I'm low income, not having a job right now, and not able to represent myself in court, also resulted in January a loss of my car and probably soon my home. We are all victims of family law court, like any other family caught up in an ineffective and dangerous system of injustice in the American family law court crisis. This never-ending court battle and the stress may cost my son's life. He deserves to live with a quality of life at his young age. He is also voiceless and dominated by the decision of a judge without a fair and honest investigation. I am now convinced this is called corruption, and it is despicable. This has to stop. This is hurting my children, and my son is medically fragile. This matter is being documented and has been since the beginning. I love my children. However, my son's life is literally depending on the kindness of the media to help give back his life and the opportunity to live a healthy life. He's in high school, and that's all he should be thinking about. I am aware of the role of the media. Therefore, I am asking if you could simply do your job, and honestly and competently, just as I'm asking everyone else involved in these matters. No corruption, no favoritism, incompetence, or malfeasance. That's all anyone asks. If you can't or won't solve this, then is it any wonder I am trying? All I'm asking is if we can all find a way together to help make Washington a better place for all of us to live together. It is time for Washington to have a facelift. And this can generate money back to our state by attracting people out of state, by exposing the wonderful way Washington handles serious concerns, such as my son's fragile health and support he desperately needs from our state cardiologist, from an out-of-state cardiologist, but to bring that treatment plan back for our state cardiologist. This medical breakthrough can help put Washington back on the map when it comes to children in medicine. The fact of the matter is that many organizations are for this type of activity, corruption, on the basis of the money. There is a need for eradicating these types of activity. It is simply unfair and harmful to our youth and society. I am against any type of violence. My experiences have discovered an increased need for the foundation of a civil society in my home state of Washington. It seems people are just too busy earning a piece of the problem versus eliminating. But sooner or later, someone will come along and take an active public position. Sooner or later, enough will be enough for the people, and there will be a social, political, spiritual confrontation. The people will want to be a part of their state or government. Every person wants to see their state or government as their state or government. And so the people will have to contribute to make sure that corruption can uproot and not take root. If not, then the people know that expecting their state to just be in charge of the economy and the same state in charge of monitoring corruption and holding people accountable for corruption who are corrupt. And then the rest of us just complains when I believe it's time for the people to get involved. I think we can pull back the curtains of Washington's corruption, and there can be a hope to rebuild. I think we can develop cooperation, develop a way to protect the money with integrity, special training, contracting, supporting each other, strengthening each other and our economy, and creating advisory services. But let's face it, corruption costs billions of dollars, including lawsuits, compromising the future of our youth and our state. And with that being said, I can elaborate further on those ideas. I can really define those. I have some great ideas I'd like to contribute towards betterment. When I filed my federal lawsuit on my own, I'd like to say on April 10th, little did I know that just 3 days prior, April 7th, that another person in my same city filed a lawsuit against the same named defendants, 3 days apart. So, as I said, it's time to face this, and let's do it right. We can do it. The special training can include the full knowledge on the risks and the costs of corruption, developing guidelines on how to identify corruption, how to react to corruption, and the consequences of corrupt behaviors. Our state can create integrity clubs, raising awareness and fairness, monitoring and awards for integrity to improve quality and efficiency, and allowing public audits. I also have in-depth, I can define those too as well, but for the sake of this release, we just leave it as that. My experiences with CPS has caused my family to become more aware of the need for CPS and family law audit and reform. There is a need for the people in Washington to simply connect. We're here, we got to do it. We got to learn how to just get along, make this work. It's just hurting our state in every way. The system can obliterate the families and children simply because they can. It has the power to. And that is concerning. Children deserve better. Families deserve better. It's our future. It's our state. And historically, parents in children's life have been one of unquestioned value, celebrated in cultures around the world. So it is time to pull back those curtains in Washington and start saving our children and families. Thank you for allowing me to share my personal experiences in regards to the issues with CPS, DSHS, family law, and an activity that is plaguing my beautiful home state of Washington for the purpose of recognition, for the increased support of better laws, and CPS and family law reform and integrity clubs, or corruption eradication. Thank you for the time for hearing my story, and feel free to leave any positive comments, questions, or concerns. I'm still defending myself in court, and actually in two courts, family law court and federal court. So if you could reserve your negative comments, that'd be really appreciative. That's really what I need right now. So if you'd like, you could pray. If you have a negative comment, you can take it and pray. But if you'd like, you can also contribute financially if you want to donate. I have to buy things related to court: computer paper, ink cartridges, certified mail stamps, transportation is a bus pass. I need a bus pass because my car was taken away. I need to get to court. There's things related to court, and I have a site on I have a story on GoFundMe. So it's called Anne Giroux's Defense Fund, and that's spelled ANNE. The last name is GIROUX. You go to GoFundMe and Anne Giroux's Defense Fund. Then you can learn more about my son's rare congenital heart condition on that too. And there's also a site on the GoFundMe that will tell you more about my son's congenital heart condition. So together we can make a difference. So thank you for watching and listening, and take care, everybody.